Right, folks, we have got another music review. We've got Gav back, all his wisdom, knowledge, and everything in between to make these music reviews that bit better. How's it going?
All right, good, yeah, you
Aye, it's all good. Cool. So, this band contacted me. They actually emailed me twice. I don't know if that was a by mistake or because they put 2 songs in the first email, 1 song on the second email. But
so we've got 3 songs.
I don't know if they know. I'll read it out to you.
Cool.
And we'll take it from there. So it's got, "Hi Ian, I came across you through a Facebook post by Eden Bank and thought you might like to hear our music." So Eden Bank was a duo that I had on the podcast. Spoke to the 2 of them. So I don't know if they're friends with them or they've obviously
links in the music.
They've got some sort of link
to them.
So I'll read it out. So the band's name is, I think it's Rekkr, Rekkr.
Cool.
Right. We are Rekkr, a 4-piece heavy rock band hailing from Dundee, Scotland. Okay. Alan on vocals, Stevie on guitar, Gear on bass, and Ryan on drums. Our guitar-driven sound will take you back to the 80s, an era that gave us the new wave of British heavy metal and the likes of Van Halen, Whitesnake, Rainbow, UFO, and now Rekkr.
Sweet.
Fast forward all these years, Rekkr.
Cool.
Right. I've attached a couple of MP3s that they've been taken from our debut album, which is called Deep Inside. That was released across all major platforms on the 7th of October, I'm guessing last year.
Cool.
Hope that you like them. They've obviously got gigs and all the various bits and pieces planned for the future, which is cool.
Cool.
We've got 2 new tracks ready for release, currently working on videos to go along with them as well. Give a wee description of the guys in the band. So I don't know who was it that sent me the email. It was Alan that sent me the email. So if the descriptions are wrong, guys, I'm going to blame Alan.
Blame Alan. Always blame Alan.
Yep, so Alan, he's gave us their ages, but I'm going to just say he's a little bit more mature.
Mature, cool. Like us mature.
Was lucky enough to be a teenager during the new wave of British heavy metal era. But he never got into the singing part of it until his late 20s. Sang with a couple of rock cover bands, but this is his first time ever doing original material.
Sweet.
So better late than never.
Absolutely.
Alan, you should have been doing it in the 80s while you still had the hair and everything for it, but...
Please tell me you had the long glamorous locks to go with it.
Yeah. We've got Steve. He's played with various original band, cover band, tribute bands, all that sort of thing over the years. His main influences are Van Halen, Steve Jones, Tony McAlpine, and his weapons of choice are 5150. That is the amp I'm sure that Van Halen used.
Yeah, they used that. Yeah.
Kemper amps, EVH, and Jackson guitars. So that's a nice combination.
Definitely a Van Halen fan.
And you can't get a bad sound from that, in my opinion.
No.
Gear has played in various bands since he was 17. Uses a Fender bass guitar, PV cabinet, orange amp, Boss chorus, reverb pedals, and a Line 6 pedal board.
All for the Fender basses, man. I can't go
Fender
past
bass, this man is
can't go past the Fender bass.
Mr. Iron Maiden, Steve Harris, all the way.
Fenders all the way. I do have a Jackson 5-string, but that's because I've no.
Iron Maiden, new wave of British heavy metal, right bang in the middle. So I think we're going to be liking this.
I think we are. So far, so good.
And then we've got the baby of the band, Ryan, who is similar ages to myself. Has drummed in various bands from all over Scotland. Influences are mainly groove and thrash metal, which is pretty cool.
Sweet.
Currently uses Pearl drums, UFIP cymbals, not heard of that before, DW pedals. Steve Allen and Gear all contribute to the songwriting and lyrics. Ryan sits in the background smoking a cigar, just chilling out.
Drummers don't do lyrics.
But he's responsible for the production and mixing of the album.
Cool, okay, nice.
So what that says is if the songs sound bad, you've got 3 people blaming it on the mix, and 1 person blaming it on the guys that wrote it.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's cool. That sounds about right. But being that 3 of us were Gen X kids, Ryan's obviously a bit younger, our music definitely has an 80s heavy rock feel to it, so I think this is going to be cool. I've got 3 songs set up that the guys sent us.
Cool.
Had a wee look, they've got their YouTube channel, so we'll maybe play a couple of songs from that. We'll just pick at random as well, because I think they've got like it's either the album or an EP or something on there as well.
Cool.
But the first song they sent us across is called The Rock. I don't know if I'm assuming maybe it was written about Dwayne Johnson.
Or it's about bringing the Rock.
Hopefully both.
Yeah, maybe it's about the Rock rocking.
Right, so
on a rock.
Make a start. We'll comment afterwards. So 3, 2, 1. There we go, Gav. That was the first song from Rekkr, titled The Rock.
And
Give me your first thoughts, opinions, views on that.
Well, first of all, Ryan, well mixed. That sounded tremendous. It's got a good beat to it. It's definitely no album influenced. It reminded me St. Ian, as we were listening, like, it reminded me of Ian Astbury's vocals in The Cult a little bit, like a really good gravelly voice. It was.
I thought a little bit Danzig.
You thought Danzig, especially at the beginning with the kind of vocal effect at the start. But yeah, I like that, and the guitar, fucking driving bass line. Fucking, how many horns? Can we give it horns yet already?
No. We were saying they've definitely perfectly captured the feel of the 80s. We actually said that I wonder bands from the 80s, if they were to record nowadays, would it sound as good as that, because you've got fresh production on it. But it's weird that they captured the old sound, but it sounded fresh.
Yeah, know what you mean.
And obviously I'm a guitarist, so my ear is drawn to the guitar. I liked the guitar work. What I liked about it was verses and chorus, it wasn't too much. Because I sometimes think, especially if it's like a sort of Van Halen influence, there's the tendency to overplay because you can, and I sometimes think, no, wait until the solo section, because during the verse, during the chorus, the guitar is backing up the vocals. The guitar is part of the bass and the drums.
The bass and the drums were well.
Drums sound lovely. I don't know if it was recorded in a big room or if the reverb was added afterwards, but the drums sound lovely.
Drums sound, I like the snare sound on it as well, and the bass drum sound. But you can still hear everything else. Everything else was still well in the mix. Nothing was muddied in. But no.
And obviously, I think,
I agree with the guitar solo thing. It wasn't just fancy for the sake of being fancy. It was all tasteful and well placed.
And Alan, you should have been singing back in your 20s, because you sound perfectly fine to me. I thought each member there, Alan, Steve, Gare, Ryan, they all played their parts the way you're meant to play it, and it made the song better.
It was one piece, it was one band playing, you could tell that.
Good start.
That's
good
a
start there. Right, next song that we've got is I Can't Wait. You can't wait for this song.
It's the next song if it's anything like the first.
Make a start and we'll see what you think. So 3, 2, 1. That was I Can't Wait. We had some funny discussion during that song. So Gav, initial thoughts on that song?
So if you take the DNA of Van Halen and splice a little bit of Poison and a little bit, maybe a slightly bit more of Def Leppard, that's it. And then we've got a video for you. If you've not got
Bon Jovi as well.
But a wee bit of Bon Jovi in there. We've got a video idea for you. That's what we were laughing about.
Yeah. So we were just saying that I automatically just that reminds me of an old school 80s rock music video where there's a montage of them on tour. They're passing all the different cities, there's crowds of people outside, it's got them setting up in the empty arena, and then it fires into that last chorus and the arena's full. There's pyro, the guys swinging from a cable attached to the ceiling.
There's from the ceiling
signing groupies' tits. It's
not while he's on the cable outside the venue.
Yeah.
That would be quite cool. They're getting lowered down with a sharpie.
Again, the guitarist, he had his moment to shine, but he didn't ruin it by being too over flashy throughout the whole song.
There were some lovely runs in it,
because it drives me up the wall when there's too much guitar.
Aye, yeah, and a different sound to Alan's voice in that one as well. It just
Obviously, you had the additional synth keyboard.
That was a nice touch. I liked that as well.
Yeah.
That was
Next one is called Too Late, so I reckon we just fire on with it.
Cool. Named after Alan again, because you're never too late to start singing. You should have done it earlier.
There we go. Right, 3, 2, 1. Gav, so that was the third song, Too Late. I forgot to say at the beginning, this was the song that was sent on the second email that Alan had sent across. So I think the first two songs were on the same album. This one was released on April 7th. So I think this is separate.
Too Late's the latest single. I've just added you on at my Spotify because I'm liking what I'm hearing.
I really liked that song. I was just saying to you there, that lovely end part there, I could imagine live that going on for a lot. You could space that bit out a lot longer.
Yeah.
It sounded really good. I liked obviously the drums. There was like an interesting drum pattern.
What's going on?
Liked it. Loved the guitar solo. I loved the pre-chorus. The vocals went in a direction I wasn't expecting.
Nice and low.
They went low down.
Yep.
Before you then went high up in the chorus. But the pre-chorus set up the chorus really well.
Yep.
I really liked that. What's your thoughts on it?
The double bass drumming, Ryan, fucking well done. I like the double bass drumming. Hear your thrash influence in it.
Do with some of the bands you were saying that kind of it's in the same vein as the other ones. Clearly.
It reminds me of one really. I can't even remember, but the chorus.
Too late.
It's catchy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's definitely catchy. It'll come to me. I'll probably walk out the door and I'll be like, it was that band, but they were a good band anyway, and it's lots of compliments.
So that was the three tracks that the band sent us, but I just knew that we were going to end up liking them. So I'm wondering if there's any more songs that we can maybe check out on YouTube.
All right, cool.
Maybe do a couple more if they've got it. I'm sure. Just trying to find it here.
Well, it looks like them.
So we've heard Too Late, I Can't Wait. There is a bunch more songs. We've heard The Rock. Do you want to just do these two that are sitting?
Well, I want to listen to 80s rock and roll.
80s rock and roll, will we go with that?
Let's go with 80s rock and roll.
Okay. So we are continuing past what the band sent us because we are liking what we're hearing. So we're on YouTube now, and the song is 80s rock and roll. So we'll give it a listen, see what happens.
Are you ready to roll? Are you tapping your
There we go. So that was
80s rock and
80s rock and roll. That was obviously picked from ourselves, just going on to the guy's YouTube channel. I think that was maybe one of their older songs that they've recorded. I'm not sure, but what's your thoughts on that one?
Like that one, yeah. If you're, I can imagine that as like a set opener, like just the lyrics. It's very in the vein of kind of how Metallica sang Whiplash, and it's all about going to the show. And
I like that.
It was a metal fan. It was.
I liked it. A bit more up tempo than the first three that we heard, which I liked. Great guitar solo, because I'd said to you, we need to have a shredder of a solo coming up, and
it was just perfectly on cue. It was like, here we go, and then there it was.
And you were for the longest time, you were like, who the singer sounds like somebody. It reminds me of someone. You figured it out.
Nail on the head. Dee Snider, Twisted Sister. That
yeah. So again, another good
just 80s, strong 80s influence there.
Like a giant of the 80s.
Yep.
Van Halen, Def Leppard, Twisted Sister. Yep. It sounds great. I asked you, if you didn't know what that was, if I'd just popped that on, would you think that that's a current band, or would you have thought that was something great sounding from the 80s?
I thought that would have been a remastered version of something from the 80s. And another legend of the 80s, Motorhead. Well, was a Motorhead or just a legend?
Diamond Head as well.
Diamond Head, that double bass drum outro. I said Motorhead, you said Diamond Head. Both are just perfect matches for that, but really good.
Automatically coming up here, there's two more songs. Will we just go with those two?
Go for it.
Which one do you want first?
Shoot. Let's shoot. Let's shoot.
Shoot. So
shoot.
3, 2, 1.
Have a cold beer up over there.
So Gav, that was the song Shoot Shoot. I really liked that. What's your initial thoughts? What comes to mind?
I love the snare sound on that, a nice roomy, echoey, reverby, chunky snare drum. Solid.
Upbeat again, similar to the last one. What I was saying to you was sometimes less is more. And I just love a guitar riff where it stops and does absolutely nothing and all you can hear is the drums and vocals.
Yeah.
I sometimes think that's just so much better than filling that sound with a guitar. Guitar solo, shredding, it was good. I really like that. I was saying to you, I've got a friend at work who is probably maybe ages with some of these guys, loves his hair metal and all that from the 80s. I know for a fact he would just love this band. I'm going to obviously send the stuff to him, but I really like that. There's one other song shown here, Once Bitten, Twice Shy. Will we just give it a play?
Let's go
give
for
it a
it.
spin.
I've definitely been bitten by the Rekkr bug, so go for it.
So we might get an advert. 3, 2, 1.
Blame me for a fool, accuse me like a true.
Well, Gav, that was Once Bitten, Twice Shy.
I like that. Very sounds influenced by The Cult. The intro, Def Leppard, I want to say.
I'm a big fan of dive bombs on the guitar.
Oh, can it beat a good dive bomb? Even as a bassist, I appreciate a good dive bomb. Can you dive bomb on a bass? Do Floyd Rose do bass trebles?
Maybe, I don't know.
Something for me to look into.
So overall, we've listened to, what, so 3 songs there, 6 songs?
6 songs, and I'm hooked.
So I think we've got a good idea of what the band sounds like. I would 100% go and see these guys.
Absolutely.
If they're playing a gig.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I take my daughter to that one, that she'd like that.
I've got friends that I know if I introduce them to them, that they'll love them because they love that style of music. I liked it. The first couple of songs we heard, better production than the last 3, albeit I think those ones are more new than the other ones. But I liked all the songs. The first 3 sounded better, production wise, but the last 3, I liked that they were a bit more upbeat.
Yes.
I liked it, but all the songs, none of them sounded out of place. They all flowed well.
Yeah.
You can imagine that being in a set list along with whatever else they put in.
No, I would definitely come and see you guys.
I thought it was really
absolutely
good. Out of all,
actually, I'm looking forward to coming and seeing you guys. So you better be down here soon.
Of the 6 songs, is there one that you think you prefer?
I'm still singing 80s rock and roll. I'm still singing that.
I like the most recent one, Too Late.
Too Late was good.
I like that.
I can't wait. I like that as well.
80s rock and roll.
It's hard to pick up.
Too Late. The first one, The Rock, was good.
That was good.
But if I had to pick just one for myself, I think the most recent song, Too Late, was good. I had the cool drum pattern. I had the pre-chorus that when it went down, went up to the high bit.
Yeah, you're right. It did have that.
I think that was maybe my favourite out of the 6 we listened to. But
it's like
they were all great.
Choose your favourite child. It's quite hard. They were all those tracks just flow well together, stand strong on their own.
So Rekkr as a band, we've got 5 horns, 5 being the best. 0 horns means you're rotten.
How
many horns are you giving Rekkr?
Are you giving them 5?
No.
Because I think we need to take this to 11. I would give you 11.
No, I'm not giving them 5. The reason being that as much as I love the 80s rock music, it's not my favourite. So it would need to be something like Pantera or Sepultura for it to be a 5 out of 5 for me.
Okay.
But listening to great sounding band, all the players in the band, whether they've just decided to start singing now or if they've been playing for years, everybody gelled together. They brought something, they made the songs better because they were playing together. I would go and see them, I would go and buy stuff that they're releasing. I know other people definitely they would do it.
Yeah, I'll be recommending you to my pals as well. Yeah, absolutely.
I would give them a lovely 4.5.
4.5. I'm giving you 5. I'm giving you 5 because I grew up in the 80s. That's where I got into metal, so that just took me back to my youth. I thought that was great. Decades ago. I like that. I really like that. But
for anybody want to check out the band, of course they're on social media. They've got their YouTube channel. As they'd said before, all Rekkr. If you're looking them up, all their songs, they're available for download for streaming on all the usual platforms, so definitely check them out. And just thank you to the guys as well for sending it across, and we'll see you at some point in concert. I'll grow my mullet out, get my bullet belt looked out,
I'll have the spandex trousers on, no, maybe no,
and I'll get
lifted on the way to the gig,
get some of my patches sewn on.
Aye,
to my top
at the loft.
But until next time, cheers guys.
Cheers.